All right, so I've been a little bit sick and I haven't been home, so that's why I've been away for a few days. Currently, like redesigning the whole apartment. We're gonna crack the wall behind me and shit like that. So, excuse me for being away for a couple days. However, I do want to keep up the consistency. So, in this video, I'm kind of going to break down a little bit of a couple tips and tricks you guys can do within running your AI agency. Kind of the same things that I did from going from zero to $10,000 in like 48 hours. I'm not going to go over this whole thing again because I've already made a couple videos on exactly how the business model works, what I do, how I actually went from 0 to 10K, and why it just took me 2 days to do so when people spend fucking 200 hours a month just to kind of get to the same number. So I'm going to break down kind of a couple tips and tricks you guys can do, which I've done myself, which has really helped out when it comes to how to actually get clients and a couple of things that most people don't really talk about. They kind of just talk about closing people for 5, 10, $15,000. Well, I'm kind of gonna give you a few more niche steps which most people don't really talk about, but I know that they use and stuff like that. So you guys are gonna get a lot of value out of this. Again, excuse my voice, I am a little bit sick, so just trying to keep up the consistency for you guys. You already know I got a bunch of value, but essentially what we do is that we obviously sell AI services to local businesses, or we just kind of sell normal services like lead gen, AI receptionist, whatever, but we just utilize AI to kind of fulfill on these services that we do. So if it comes to lead gen, we're just basically running marketing for local businesses. However, we use AI to make the ads, and then we also use AI to just analyze the ads to make sure they're performing, what is going well, what is not going well, and so on. So the tips and tricks I kind of want to give you guys when it comes to this specific video is more so going to be building an offer around how to actually get your first clients and how to keep them and what to do when it comes to fulfillment and so on. So there's a lot of things people don't really talk about, and I haven't really talked about this myself. So that's why I thought it would be a pretty good video to make. But essentially, as you guys know, when it comes to building out an offer for an AI agency, what you have to keep in mind is that you obviously have to pick a niche. So we've kind of talked about the pros and cons of different niches. You obviously have the typical home service businesses like your roofers, your solar, your HVAC, whatever, right? There's a bunch of different ones. You also have your clinics, such as dental clinics, chiropractors. You have all these med spas, right? There's pros and cons. You have real estate and stuff like that. So the pros and cons kind of do matter because if you want to quote unquote run ads, obviously depending on how much money you have, depending on the niche, which means that such as solar roofers and so on, it doesn't really cost that much money to like acquire a lead or acquire a booking compared to something like a clinic. So clinics usually have way more money to spend, so you can charge them $5,000, $10,000. However, you're gonna have to spend $200 to $300 just to get a book call. While the home service businesses don't really have as much money, or there's not as lucrative. Most people have already kind of tapped into their market, etc. So they've been burned a bunch. They don't really trust anybody, so they're not just willing to spend 15,000 on some random dude, right? So that's kind of how things stand. However, obviously you're gonna get them for way cheaper, like $30 per lead, which is just kind of how things work. However, this is not really what matters within this video because you can pick your niche depending on kind of where you're at. What matters is more so the offer. Obviously, you have to build out an offer for your specific niche and the target audience that you have. But I've always talked about having something tangible, something results driven, something that they can actually pay for, right? Which still stands true. However, I do have a little bit of a tactic that I have used for my own AI agency, which I haven't really talked about ever. And it almost goes a little bit against this, not totally, but it does a little bit. But here's the trick. You still have to keep this in mind because you're going to need it. You're going to have a tangible results based offer. This is just an example. 100 new patients in 90 days or you don't pay, right? So it's super tangible. You're going to get them 100 new patients in 90 days. If that is not tracked and measured and whatnot, then I don't know how you can have a more tangible and results based offer, right? It's pretty straightforward. Something that wouldn't be is just like, oh, we'll bid you this, that, automation, and so on. So fuck all that. But here's the thing. when it comes to what I mean with tips and tricks, I know I've been rambling on, but there's a bunch of new viewers that are watching this. So I just want to quickly recap a couple of things. But now, what I wanted to talk about is kind of how you can actually structure your offer and how to get a couple clients through the door to build some cash flow so you can just like book more calls and you don't even necessarily need to run ads or anything to do this. So the trick that you want to do is basically you want to find a super low hanging fruit that you can just tap into right away for any local business and just kind of exploit that within the local business that you're kind of targeting or whatever, and then just upsell them on the more tangible offer later on. So to dive deep into this, what I actually mean is that you can set up a very easy, straight to the point type of offer. So an example can just like if you want to focus on AI, you can just be like, we'll make you AI receptionist $97 a month, right? If you find businesses that actually need an AI receptionist, just like target them, sell that for $97 a month, and then just actually prove yourself that it works, right? So you want to tap into something like that, or chatbot, right? Let's just say, oh, we'll build you a chatbot for $97 a month. Setup fee, you can even do like a 197 setup fee and then just $97 a month afterwards if you want a little bit more cash. Doesn't really matter. The money, you're not there to like make money off of this because a lot of people are out here talking about this like it's the next big thing. And it's like, yeah, sure, you can make a little bit of money doing that, but it's like that's not where the real money's made. The real money's made in these big offers. These you can sell for $5,000, $10,000. However, nobody's gonna pay you that, or you're gonna have a hard time finding somebody that's gonna pay you that unless you have a bunch of testimonials, results, and things are already working from the get go. So a good way to tap into this, and that kind of what we've done is like, okay, we'll build you an AI receptionist for $97 a month, no, just like a subscription base, right? So if you don't like it, you don't have to continue. You can cancel anytime, whatever. And you can be able to make that for them. And then they will just actually see that what you do works and you've proven yourself that it works and you've also gained their trust, right? So great example of what you can do is just build that AI receptionist and then just have a kind of a, what we call it is a just like follow up meeting later. Not really a follow up meeting, but more so just like stats based. I can't remember exactly what we call it right now. I don't know. My mind is blanking. I'm kind of sick. But anyway, you just want to have like continuous meetings, just going over the stats and how things work. Has it actually given them more leads? What has happened? So let's say that you make an AI receptionist for somebody for $97 a month. They pay it, and then 3 weeks in, you kind of have a touch point meeting where you guys just go over the numbers, see what the AI receptionist has been doing for the past 3 weeks, and then they can actually see based on the results that it's worked. It's gained you guys a lot more business, and it's helping you overall. So it's a positive ROI. So when you guys go over that on that meeting, they already have your trust. They like see it in real time that it actually works. They really like it and they're going to continue using it, right? So they're going to continue to pay you $97 a month. So what you can do is that you can just upsell them on this big offer at that point in time. So let's say you're on that meeting, you kind of going over the numbers, they like everything they see, and you're just like, okay, cool. So by the way, you guys would really actually benefit off of running marketing. Have you guys like tried any marketing, or do you guys run your ads yourself or anything like that at the moment? And they're going to be like, oh no, we've heard about it, but we don't really do that. We just kind of get most of our customers from word of mouth or referrals. And that's a great point to be like, oh, but now you guys have an AI receptionist. We can build you out a CRM, a SEO, new website, whatever it might be. And all of that online presence and the AI receptionist and everything is going to give you guys way more potential growth. Like, how much money do you think you guys are leaving on the table by not being online? And they're just going to obviously realize that they're losing a bunch of money because this is how much money they've gained by just having an AI receptionist. Imagine if we add ads to that as well. So they're going to be like, oh, yeah, we're probably leaving a bunch of money on the table. So you can just be like, oh, well, cool. But now that you kind of see the AI receptionist work, why wouldn't we just like run ads for you guys as well? That's probably our specialty even more than the AI. So at that point, you're like, already you have a foot in the door, right? So it's way easier for you to just upsell that once you've kind of already gotten them on a simple $97 a month retainer. It's going to be way easier for you to just upsell this offer later down the line. So just make a tangible results based offer that you can basically pitch them on that follow-up meeting that you guys have, just going over the stats. And it's such an easy upsell because now they already trust you and they see that it works. So it's pretty much a no-brainer. They're just going to automatically think like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing because he obviously built this AI receptionist for us. So that's just going to get you way more bookings. People are going to trust you, way more referrals, etc., right? And at that point, you can obviously start running ads. You can do whatever you want. Have the VSL after the call is booked, like I've kind of talked about. Send more traffic to the page, run ads to kind of get that traffic to that calendar page, and then just close your booked appointments. And you can even do the same thing if you want to. Like you can run ads to just make an AI receptionist for the people that want. You just close those, and then 3 weeks later you upsell them, and you just keep that going. So we've had a bunch of guys that we've actually started off with because we try to close them on the big offer when we actually got the call. However, they were like super skeptical. They didn't want to. So we basically just like downsold them, and we're like, okay, cool. I get it. You've never talked to us. You don't necessarily trust us. You want certainty, blah blah blah. There's no way I can give you this certainty right now except from just showing you testimonials. However, I can show you a bunch of them. You're still not gonna believe me to the same extent. So isn't it better if we just like set up a brand new website for you, or we set up a just an AI receptionist for you? It's just $97 a month. You can test it out, see if it works, and then once you see it does, we can obviously look at potentially growing your business more with ads, SEO, whatever you kind of offer, right? So at that point, they're like, oh yeah, sure, let's just test the AI for $97 a month. Like, what do we have to lose? They test it, they see it works, and then they just are a lay down close for the big offer. So that's kind of just what I wanted to go through. Utilize that trick if you guys want. It's very, very valuable, especially kind of if you're early in your journey and you do not have a bunch of clients. You can literally just like cold call and get people an AI receptionist. Just like call them up and be like, yo, when do you guys close? And they're like, oh, we close at 5 p.m. So you ask them like, okay, so if I call you guys after 5 p.m., does anybody pick up, or does it just go straight to voicemail? And they're gonna say, no, it just goes to voicemail. And you're like, oh, okay. Have you guys looked into potentially getting an AI receptionist, blah blah? And then you just book a meeting and close them. So it's actually much easier than you think when you just have a simple offer like that, especially in the early stages. Obviously, if you're bigger, you got a bunch of capital, things are good, referrals, etc. It's going to be way easier for you to just close a big close from the get go. But if you're just starting out, you can test that out and yeah, hopefully get some cash flow, get a little bit of traction and momentum in the right stages, and then just upsell them on the big offer. Hope that helps. Catch you guys next time. Take care.